You know, it's almost like your birthday with a package from China, so let's go. This is a product that I have seen come by on AliExpress, a lot of different names. A lot of different stores sells it, but this is maybe one of the best game sticks you can pick up nowadays. The controller, game stick, gamepad, whatever you want to call this, is also known as the Powkiddy Y6, or in other words, the Powkiddy. So here on the channel I deep dive into the game stick jungle because there are so many different versions out there, and I can tell you a lot of bad ones and really horrible versions out there with pretty damn horrible emulation. Kind of funny what they're putting on the box is, for example, professional game chip. That has nothing to do with a game chip. Dual rocker control, in other words 2 controllers, and 2.4 GHz wireless connection. We have search functionality, but most of them are completely messed up. But what are we actually going to get? So this is just more like an Android system that they modified, slapped some own software on and just use it like that. There's got a lot of different versions out there. I'm going to make a top 5 later on to check out which one is actually the best and what are the differences. At the back we're going to get a USB. Here we're going to get ourselves only one connection for a controller. The configuration with these things are quite interesting and unique because you're going to get one dongle. They need to plug in here and they connect with both controllers. The downside is if you want to use a different controller, you're going to need to use a USB hub to get actually everything connected. So the biggest problem when I'm always having with these things, having not original brands like Samsung or SanDisk, we're having these non-branded SD cards that very bad quality. You can plug it into your HDMI port, but these things are very wide and will cover up a second port or doesn't fit at all. That's the reason why they're giving you this extension cord. It's a short one, but it will do the trick. Of course, the toilet paper manual explaining everything, how it will work, but later on we'll check out the menu, what we're actually going to get. And this is the only model that we're going to get ourselves, the PlayStation 2 controllers, but these were the, let's say, the white version colored. Normally they're always black, I have no idea why. The overall quality is not bad at all, but what I did notice, these things smell kind of chemical even when you're going to be unboxing them. The quality is absolutely not the same. I'll switch over here and when opening this up, and I can say it's very difficult. It will hurt your fingernails most of the time. But here we're going to get a compartment for 2 AAA batteries. Connecting them is going to be very easy. So you can get your power from the USB on your television or monitor. Take consideration, if it is not enough amps, you're going to need yourself a normal, let's say, charger, a phone charger like this particular one. Like 1 or 2 amps is more than enough. And then you're going to need to plug it into the HDMI port. With mine, it does feel it's going to be fitting, but in the end, I don't get any signal. So let's use the extension cord and let's plug this thing back in. I find it a little bit of a bummer to use it like this because the plug and play situation, this is just actually like pretty damn well, very nice. You can just plug it in and you're just going to get yourself like a stick that you can plug in and plug out. And that's the thing when you're going to use the extension cord. The point of an HDMI stick is not really there anymore. But also another problem is if you want to power it off, you need to unplug it. There is no on and off switch. So when you're turning on your television, it will automatically boot up, or if you're going to plug it in the wall with your adapter, yep, you can switch it from maybe like a switcher underneath and turn it on and off. So the big brand is called 3D Game Stick and they're just selling this thing under different names. For example, the Game Stick Y6. So what I'm actually going to get is first of all a very nice fancy menu. Here we're going to get ourselves like a quick menu, and here we can see that we're having select and start for the special options, X for search, favorite, Y, B for back, and A for select. At the top we're going to get different kind of, let's say, platforms, and there are a lot of them, from the 8-bit, 16-bit era, even some pocket devices like the Game Gear and the Neo Geo Pocket, and Mega Drive 32X. There's a lot of cool stuff you can actually play with it, and a lot of new features. At the left side we're going to get ourselves just a list with the games that are on there. I did notice some of them are having an alphabetic order, but some don't. And touching a certain controller will also give you an indication which controller is basically navigating through the menu. And last but not least, we're going to get ourselves a tiny screenshot for every single game that you're going to be choosing. I think it's pretty cool. There is no video that we have seen before, but I think they're doing this because it takes up a lot of space, having every single time a tiny, let's say a tiny video playing when you're actually choosing a game. Pressing select and start will give you the main menu. With the main menu we're going to get the controller settings that we can mess around with if you want to. So everything has been adjusted, and I mean particularly like it is not your typical Emulation. This is just a piece of software that has some minor, let's say, settings that you can adjust. Language and just quit. That's the only thing that we can change out. And that's the only thing that we can do. But let's take a close look at some overall emulation. But also when you're looking at the menu, they changed it out with all the previous models. First of all, when pressing up and down, this is the same like always, you're going to the next game. By pressing left and right, here we can choose different kind of, let's say, category. And pressing the shoulder buttons, here we're going to skip basically a page in the certain platform. Okay, let's take a close look at the search functionality. Pressing X. I'm curious if you're going to have a delay. I've noticed with some of the sticks it's really annoying to search because you're going to have the feeling that it needs to be loading every single time something. But they completely not messed it up this time. So I'm going to try to searching for Mortal Kombat. Here we're going to get ourselves different games like Dreamcast, Nintendo DS, PlayStation. You can see actually what kind of platform that you're searching and playing. So the next option we're going to get when pressing select and start, we're going to get ourselves the resume, save and load. And he also made a mistake when it comes to the spelling of resume. It says reuse or something, or ruse, how do you say that? Nevertheless, still they're messing stuff like that up. Absolutely unforgivable, no aspect ratio. So that is something also that they can improve in the next model. But graphical wise, it will run on original resolution so far I can see, but it runs pretty damn smooth and everything looks quite nice. But the controls overall are not bad at all. And the overall emulation, don't notice any problems. Of course, there are a lot of different games out there. But let's continue to a different game. Next up, I wanted to try some MAME emulation just to see what we're actually going to get. So enter some credits. I do see this weird, very strange filter over it that trying to look at it a little bit better, or that's the feeling I'm having. Pressing select and start will give you the same option like before, but pressing both joysticks, here we're going to get ourselves into the emulator settings. So I think it's pretty damn cool. Here game information, game history, we can even implement some cheats if you want to. Let's say infinite. Live can be set to on. Alright, there we go. And here we are, we have infinite life and we can just cheat the system. So I think it's pretty cool. That is an option you don't have with every single device. That we can go into this. Input general, we can even swap out the button layout. I would not mess around too much with that. But there's a lot of cool options and it's very cool to actually see that they improving stuff like that too. So we give it a little bit more freedom when it comes to configuration. So first of all, I found it interesting to see that we're actually going to get PlayStation Portable running on a game stick for that amount of money. But take consideration that there are some options we don't have like with a Pandora's box. First of all, we cannot play together with a friend. That is one of those unique features that they implemented in Pandora's boxes. We don't have this, so it's actually just a one-player system. Nevertheless, when you're looking at the gameplay, the button layout seems to be working like it should be. So that's the part they didn't mess up. Pressing select to start will give you more like a semi-PP SSPP emulator. Control options, you can see you can get into the controls, but that's it, you know, it has been locked down, so there is no way of messing with the freaking options. I find a little bit of a bummer because with these systems you can sometimes tweak it and get a pretty damn good result with low power chips. Of course, frame skipping will be enabled with these things. I can already tell you that because otherwise it wouldn't run. But what's even interesting, there is like a God of War in here, but those games will not run at all. So I don't know why they even bothering putting it on there. But when you're looking at some Sega Dreamcast emulation, I must say that I'm quite surprised to see that it actually runs pretty decent. And the reason I'm saying decent, because I did notice when it comes to the intro and some parts of the game, it absolutely stutters. Depending how, let's say how demanding the game itself is. But a lot of games are playable, so that's pretty damn cool. The same story also here. You can make a quick load, quick save. Alright, there we go. And we can load. And here you can see it seems to be working just fine. But let's say you want to get into the game and you just want to see if this save has been continued. So let's reboot it again. And the reason why I wanted to show you how fast also it will load up. So yep, we do have a quick load, quick save. We don't have any slots, so it's only one quick load, quick save. And if you accidentally like save it at the moment you don't want to save, you're completely having a problem. So let's load it all up. So it has been booted up instantly, so that's one of the ways you can go to. But again, it's very limited. What happens if you're going to boot up a different game? Let's see if it's going to be messed up or it will be a single slot save for a single game. So let's boot up the next game and then see if we're going to be having the same issues that we have seen before. But here you can see like it doesn't load the save because there isn't one. If you want to relive your old games of the N64 era, I can tell you it's going to be absolutely hit or miss. Some games will run okay, but some will just look absolutely horrendous. You can see like the glitching going on, and that is the thing that I really hate about these cheap products sometimes. That they're saying they will run something, but in my opinion, when it glitches like crazy, it makes it unplayable. But it's kind of cool that they actually like fix the problem that I always had with the N64, and I mean particularly when you're walking around, they need to use the weird yellow buttons, but oh man, the sensitivity of this thing is crazy. But again, for me, if you're looking at how sensitive this joystick is, it sucks freaking unplayable, or I just need to get used to this. But the overall gameplay is not bad at all, and especially when you're looking at this really cheap chip that they're using on this. Yeah, and graphical wise it looks absolutely horrible. Look at the glitches. Oh man, really bad. And it stutters and it drops in frames, I can just see it. Another system I wanted to check out is PlayStation. We have reached the point that even the cheap chips can, or at least like the game sticks with the cheap chips, cheap chips can say it very fast 3 times. Chip to the chip chip. Chip to the chip chip. But with some of these, they will run PlayStation without any problem, including this particular one. But the main problem is there is no audio. They just leave it out because it saves out a lot of space. Which, come on man, if there's no music, that is absolutely like a horrible thing to do. I'm still surprised to see how good it runs. So what is a little bit of a bummer? Sonic, if you're going to search it, everything works very well, very fast. But there was one particular thing I've noticed. When you're looking at the game list, if there are any games on here, you can see that they missed out a letter at the beginning. I have no idea why they did this, but makes this a freaking annoying thing. Simply because there is no way of searching certain games, because they messed it up when it comes to, let's say, the game list itself, or the naming at least. But also with the, let's say, Mega Drive games, you can just actually see that they're using a weird filter again. The filter I've seen with Pandora's Box, like an HD filter, I don't really like that, but if you're going to use this on a very huge television, it looks slightly better in my opinion. But if you just want to play some old school games, mainly I'm always testing, let's say, more demanding system just to check it out, how it will run. But if you want to get into the 8 and 16-bit era, this will work just fine. No problem whatsoever. So one of the cool additions is the Sega 32X. It's a very small library of games that is on there, but it's cool that they added this. And also here I do have the feeling that they have the same kind of weird filter over it. No weird sound delays whatsoever. Let's move on to the Sega Master System just to see actually how good it runs. And also here we're having the weird filter over it. It's kind of funny when I'm looking at it. I'm getting really used to it. But so far, no weird stuff going on over here. When you're going to look into a Game Boy, it's going to be stretched to a crazy amount. So it's quite unfortunate in my opinion. I personally really prefer to have a bezel over here. But beside that, it seems to be running just fine. Let's move on to Sega Dreamcast with some Dead Alive 2 testing, because I'm really curious how this is actually going to be running. PlayStation Portable wasn't great, but it was playable. Minor hiccups. Now we're going to push the stick to the limit. I've seen my share of, like, say, shitty emulation, but this is not bad at all. And if it can run Dead Alive 2, it can run most of the games. Minor dips here and there, but in my opinion, it's still playable. Next test is going to be a Thomas Wave, and I can already hear that it struggles big time. That's what we're going to get with these low power devices. They should like remove these things. Because let's be honest, this is not the way how you want to play a game like that. It's an absolutely great game. For me, it's like the next level for Metal Slug. But it stutters even in the beginning. So what I wanted to do is just check out some Nintendo DS. And the reason why, because I've noticed there are some mixed performance when it comes to certain game sticks. So the first thing I've noticed that the overall performance is quite good. Another cool thing is we can enter the stylus mode. And pressing the left joystick, I can just even switch between the screens if I want to. In the inside, I've seen a lot of game sticks in the last, I think, a couple of months I've doing these reviews. And one of the things I've also noticed that they're having different methods of like giving them some cooling. Particularly like the passive cooling is a very popular way. But what I do notice that there are two metal plates in here. A very thin one at the top, or yeah, at the top, and a very thick one. And I can tell you, it doesn't transfer a lot of heat, but maybe enough to cool the chip down. So there is no active cooling whatsoever. They have some thermal pads in place. This thermal pad doesn't go anywhere, just at the back where the chip is. But let's remove this thermal pad. There's a different substance that we have seen before. The ones that are more kind of sticky, and yeah, of course you rip it apart. I just wanted to see what is basically behind the chip in here. So it's kind of weird, looks like more like double-sided tape than actually going to be using normal thermal paste. So I need to apply myself some thermal paste. So what is interesting, they are using the S905X2. It's a different chipset that we have seen in different models. Yeah, but you can see like it's always a gamble when it comes to these things, what we're actually going to get. It's kind of interesting to see also how it just evolves everything, how great it is nowadays. It's just a freaking tiny stick. But what you're going to get is just a plug and play solution. So when you're looking at the pros and cons, I'm just going to be honest, I'm very satisfied with a lot of features of this game stick. But they messed it up big time with a couple of things. First of all, the naming is one of the things that they completely dropped the ball on and makes the search engine completely pointless. Then of course we're going to get ourselves the emulation performance where with let's say the more demanding system they run absolutely horrendous, or we do have a mixed performance. So you know, when you're looking at all the game sticks, this is still one of the best ones out there. It's a little bit of a bummer that it's not perfect. For example, the aspect ratio. I was thinking like why the heck is the aspect ratio? Because with some games, if you're looking at a Game Boy Classic, man, it looks maximum unplayable, stretched out. Thank you all for watching. Let me know in the comments what do you think of a game stick like this, and it would be great to see you in the next video.